All right, welcome back to the 50/50 podcast. It's been a long time since we've done this, so we figured we'd bring it back. We were about a month late. We were planning on recording over Cheese Days weekend, and our friend Brian got a little bit too busy with nursing school. So we're back. I'm Tyler.
I'm Connor.
And we have a very special friend, probably the longest supporter of the podcast, right behind Eric Vale. Cory the Frag de Kaiser coming at us live. Not many of our viewers probably know Cory that well. So Cory, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Cory. I guess the easiest way to describe myself right now is a heartbroken Brewers fan. Game 7 the other night did not go the way I was hoping. Other than that, big supporter of Bucks, Packers, kind of a hush-hush Orlando Magic fan. Other than that, big sports guy, followed golf, whole bunch of stuff.
I respect the Magic pick.
The golf one, not entirely sure. On a scale of, how do I phrase this? CS student to Barstool Sports, where are you on the frat scale right now?
Yeah, so a big fan of Barstool there, but yeah, computer science kid, nerd. Guess I have to say I'm kind of 6 out of 10. Like to be a little douchey, but that's where we're at.
So almost at Showalter level, I got it.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right. So instead of talking about things that are still fresh in the wound, we're going to talk about some football. I guess we could say that's a little bit still fresh in the wound for us. So Wisconsin's season's obviously not been going as well as planned. The offensive line hasn't lived up to the hype that had during the preseason. That's for sure. It definitely became true during the BYU game. Defense has surprisingly been the positive note. They had quite the amount of injuries during the Michigan game, and then I think Dakota Dixon was pretty much out, and Scott Nelson was out all day yesterday too, along with 2 or 3 other corners. We know we haven't had Rand for the whole season, so we knew our front seven was kind of be a little gimpy to begin with, but we still have Sugapalu, so I was pretty happy about that. Van Ginkel, although he's been kind of in and out, but he was pretty silent during the Michigan game. I think he only had 3 tackles, if I remember right, and he played almost every single down during that entire game. So it was a little bit disappointing to... he had 6 total tackles, 3 of which were solo, and 1 tackle for a loss and 1 quarterback hurry. So it was a little bit disappointing to see him come back and play a full game and not really be an impact player. He wasn't really an impact player yesterday, too, during Illinois. So before we get to shitting on the offense, any other comments you want to bring up about the defense?
TJ Edwards, stepping up.
I think Ryan Connolly is the big name that's going to come out this year.
Sure.
Obviously, TJ Edwards is trying to make one more push to get his draft stock higher, but Ryan Connolly has been absolute fire, as the youth would say. Yeah, he had a pretty big game against Michigan, considering how shit we were. I mean, I really liked the strategy that Paul Chryst had during the first half, which was try and just slow Michigan down as much as possible, and try and keep the ball in our hands as much as possible. Obviously, it didn't work during the second half. Kind of did have a few things go our way. Did you watch that game?
No, I missed it.
So Cory and I were standing next to each other, and he didn't understand the long snapper call. And while I was watching it too, shout out to my boy Zach, who was the long snapper at Whitewater for several years. I know all these things because he would tell me. So the penalty is called when the long snapper has snapped the ball and his head isn't up. But if you go back and watch the play, you can clearly see he's lifted his head and his hands are coming up the block. So roughing, that was like a roughing call or whatever it was. I don't know.
I saw the replay of that. He totally sold it too. That was like Marcus Smart level of flops on that.
Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But I mean, another thing too, I guess it really showed during the BYU game. The play calling has been a little interesting, to say the least. There were a couple times where Paul Chryst put a lot of faith in Hornibrook to make a play, and he really didn't. But I do have to say, one of the players was actually giving a shit during that entire BYU game was probably Hornibrook. He was during the third quarter. He had to scramble out of the pocket and try to make something happen, and unfortunately wasn't able to. But Yeah. Any comments on Jonathan Taylor?
He's got to hold on to the ball. He's had, I think, 3 fumbles this year?
That sounds about right.
Yeah, I mean, if he wants to get drafted high, he's got to pull an anti-Adrian Peterson and hold on to the ball his rookie year. But, I mean, I really like the chemistry between him and Groshek.
Yep.
I feel like they're a great 1 and 2 option. And, yeah, I really like our running game. We just got to get the O-line to, block for them.
I mean, if they do one thing at least average or above average, it's probably blocking for the run game.
Yeah.
Their pass block is non-existent.
Shaky.
Yeah. Dieter's not bad. Benshall's not bad. GVS isn't bad. But Bidish has not been doing well. It's like between him and Hornibrook, none of them made an improvement from last year. Like we saw the Hornibrook we saw during the BYU game last year and during the Orange Bowl was amazing, and then come this year, it's just not been fun at all.
Yeah.
I thought maybe during those first 2 games we saw there'd be like some improvement because we were seeing a little bit, but during the 3rd game against BYU there was nothing going on at all with Hornibrook. Yeah, Groshek, aka the animal. And Danny Davis, I thought would have a big game when he came back for BYU.
Future of the program.
I put that in quotation marks now.
Yeah, I mean, he's averaging, since he came back, he's been averaging 3 or 4 catches a game.
Yeah.
And it's like, as long as he's consistent, that's all we really need him for, considering we have so many wide receiver options. Not as many as we've had in the past, but as long as he's consistent and we can spread the field, I mean, that's all we need from him. But
I wish, because he had 1 catch during the Michigan game, and that was like one game where he could have broke out and had and had an amazing game. But and then that also comes back to we couldn't really block for Hornibrook as well. So yeah. But yeah, Hornibrook has just made some bad decisions. Throwing into double coverage at times, not really knowing where to put the ball, not working through progressions as well as he used to. So I have no idea what's going on with him right now. I don't know, or if this is just how Hornibrook is he's just completely inconsistent.
I mean,
I feel like he's only ever if the game situation puts his back up against the wall, looking back at Iowa, that game-winning drive and just ice cold water and run through his veins to throw that strike to Taylor to put us up on top. I feel like if the game just has a good strong running start and defense is holding them up, for whatever reason he just kind of just tries to do either too much or just tries to make a highlight reel something happen and just ends up just looking like shit.
I mean, Cory can attest to this too. I was very pessimistic about the Michigan game. But I mean, if you look at the stat line from Iowa, from Hornibrook, he went into a hostile environment on a primetime game. He went 17 for 22, 205 yards passing, and with 3 TDs. You would think that would translate to going to another hostile environment in primetime. But and they showed the stat from the game before. And he was because for this year against Michigan, he was 7 for 20, and I think the game before that 2 years ago when we were in Michigan, he was 7 for 18. It was just as awful.
And that all comes back to the offensive line, allowing defense to pressure him. Because when he gets under pressure, I was messaging you about this at one time. When he gets under pressure, he doesn't throw through his arm; he throws across his body instead of throwing through.
Yeah.
And that's where most of his ducks come from. Most of his just bad passes in general, because he's not throwing through; he's throwing across, and it doesn't work.
Yeah. And I wanted to mention this too about Groshek. So against New Mexico, 3 attempts, 21 yards. Against BYU, 6 attempts, 45 yards. Why didn't give him the ball more during BYU? I don't know. Iowa's where he had a down game. It was 8 attempts for 33 yards. Nebraska, 9 attempts for 73 yards. And then just yesterday, I think he was... he didn't have very many attempts at all, I don't think. Yeah, 4 attempts for 33 yards, with his longest being 17. So, but Taiwan Deal
Yeah.
Had
Oh,
a
yeah.
big game
Oh, yeah.
yesterday. He had one rushing attempt against Michigan, and then yesterday he gets 12 touches. So, yeah. Should we mention anything about the Barry Alvarez offspring, Jake Ferguson, for you? Kind of move on from the Badgers and focus on college football as a whole.
I mean, he's not the tight end. He's not the tight end we need right now, but he's like the best we got.
Uh-huh.
Like Wisconsin is known for having those anchor tight ends, you know,
Yeah.
and we just don't have that right now. And he's like the best we have, and that's
With Newville being out for 100% for sure.
yeah, exactly. And I don't know. It's inconsistency coming into play again. It's the theme of the Badger team this year.
Can we also talk about how great the names are on defense? We got Loudermilk, we got Wild Goose, we got Van Ginkel, we got Sigopalu.
Oh yeah.
Just wild names on the defense. It's great. So college football as a whole, I think one thing we can't not mention is Ohio State being upset
Oh, yeah.
by some Boilermakers.
Oh yeah.
Some choo-choo boys last night went wild. I think I checked the score at half, and Ohio State was down 6-21 or something like that. And I was like, "What is going on?" And then had it up during the Brewer game. But yeah, it was insane. Everything that could go wrong for Ohio went wrong for Ohio. And I don't think the Buckeyes had more than 250 yards in total offense last night. So my question is Ohio State that bad this year, or did they just have an off night?
I mean, I'd pretty much say that. Purdue's got a quarterback. They got some weapons. They were, putting up points that it wasn't that hard. But Ohio State, I think, is still. The way they looked against Penn State earlier, still
Even how they
solidified
looked
them.
against Indiana and Minnesota too.
But I always feel like they slip. They kind of relax their grip on and their concentration when it comes to the Indiana Purdue games. Everybody expects them to, just be walked on all over it. But year after year, they're slowly progressing to putting together somewhat, respectable ball clubs. So, I still think that they're going to be the team to beat in the East. I'm not going to buy
Even over
Michigan.
Michigan?
Yeah, I'm not going to buy Michigan until.
We are never going to get invited back to Michigan ever again.
Until Michigan does beat them, it's been a couple of years, something like that. I'm not entirely sure,
it's been quite some time.
So, they're still up there, I think.
So back to Cory's, I just want to kind of emphasize Cory's point about Purdue's quarterback. So Blau, I believe is how you pronounce it. So 25 for 43 last night, 378 yards, 3 TDs, no interceptions. Against Illinois, 25 for 36, 377 yards, 3 TDs, 1 interception. Against Nebraska, 328 yards, 25 for 42, only 1 TD. And then against Boston College, 21 for 28, 296, 3 TDs. Drew Brees, the second, maybe? I don't know.
I remember early in the year there was some small talk about him being in the Heisman search, and I remember seeing that and talking to Eric about it and completely underestimating him. Completely.
Yeah.
And now you look at him, he has a 66% completion rating on the year, 2,000 yards and 13 TDs.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Probably one of the most underrated players in the Big
Oh,
Ten.
yeah.
Easily.
Mhm.
Speaking of underrated, the front seven for Iowa, obviously we knew Michigan's front seven was pretty good, but the front seven for Iowa is surprisingly pretty good. Not gonna lie. I think their linebacking core is probably one of the best in the Big Ten. I think, in my opinion, their front seven is probably one of the best in the Big Ten. At least for sure in the West. But yeah, they did a pretty good job of controlling our offensive attack during that first half when we played them. And then one real quick side note about Bama here. Should they be ranked number 1 right now? Do you believe that they're the number 1 team in the country, considering every single team that they played? Are they the number 1 team in the country?
Yeah, when you've got Tua, like the dude's just balling out right now. Like the guy will single-handedly just like puts them above and beyond anybody else. Like just trying to stop him alone. Like forget even maybe like trying to score on Alabama's defense, which is generally always really good. But like, yeah, I don't know how you stop Tua. The dude's like got it all.
Yeah. I could see a case being made for Notre Dame being a good contender for the number 1 spot. Could also see a good case for Michigan being a contender for the number 1 spot. But I think if I had to pick right now, I'd probably still give Bama my first place vote. They have a bye week this week, and then they're going to be playing LSU. So that's always one of my favorite games to watch during the year.
Oh yeah.
And it'll be number 1, and if LSU wins again, it'll probably be number 3 or 4.
Yep.
So it'll be a pretty big game. 2 weeks. Miss anything else? I want to say there's something.
I just want to say UCF.
Yes.
Give them the recognition they deserve. Okay. They haven't lost a game of football in like 3 years. I mean, they're sitting at 10 now, but if they're not top 5 by the end of the season and they win out, I will be very upset.
Their worst game was against Memphis, which they only won by a point. But do you want to talk about USF and how they're fucking overranked? I mean, I guess they did move down to 21, so they're kind of where they should be. But they are a top 25 team that definitely could be considered overranked.
I mean, they're undefeated.
They are undefeated,
So-
but I don't think they've had any quality wins yet. I mean, they just barely beat UConn, just barely escaped Tulsa, barely beat UMass, barely beat Illinois. Yeah, they're quite overrated to say the least. I think they're 21 in AP and then 20 in the coaches.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think they deserve to be where they're at. I think they should still be considered to be in the top 25, but they definitely don't deserve to be top 20 for sure. Also, the Buffs, I had faith in them being an upset in the Pac-12, but they destroyed my hopes a little bit. So kind of back to a point I made about a year ago, Big Ten SEC Challenge.
Oh yeah.
I think that's more evident than ever that we need it now.
Oh yeah.
Again, like it's one game a year where you're guaranteed a good quality opponent that's non-conference, and the college football playoff committee can use it to argue
Exactly.
who should be 1 through 4.
They love their quality wins, so why not just present more opportunities for those?
Exactly. I mean, it's not. Like I said, it wouldn't even be that hard. Like, even years they play at a Big Ten school, odd years they play.
I mean, basketball already does
yeah.
it. How hard is it to translate it into football?
Yeah, and
I agree.
Big 12 and ACC, not ACC. Big 12 and was it Big East are now going to do a basketball challenge too.
I heard about that. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't understand why they don't do it for football. I understand that schedules are now planned out, quite a bit ahead, but you could still add it in for the future. It's really not that hard. And yeah, you have you can do you can either do divisions match up against each other, or you could even do the whole conference matches up against each other, and you go 1, 2, 3, 4, play each other all the way down to last place in the conference. And one quick note I want to mention: Kentucky football is back, boys. The ghost of Randall Cobb coming to revive the program. Are they 6-1 now, or are they 5-2?
I'm not sure.
They're sitting somewhere around there. Talking about an exciting time to be a Wildcat fan. 6-1. And I believe their only loss was to Texas A&M, and it wasn't even that bad. So, Kentucky Wildcats, thank you for fucking up the SEC. I appreciate it. Keep doing it. Love you. Appreciate you. So, any teams to watch the rest of the season that people should have their eyes on?
I think Michigan's one. They got a lot to prove.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think them and Ohio State are possible playoff contenders. And to see 2 Big Tens teams in the playoffs would be amazing. But, how the community hates Big Ten, so... But I definitely think Michigan is the team to watch.
Any teams you have on your eye, Cory?
I mean, directly related to Wisconsin and being a threat to us on our side. I mean, Iowa. If they pull out the win next week against Penn State, I mean, their schedule afterwards is looking relatively soft, and I know we got to take care of business against Penn State the week after that, and right now I can't say I got blind faith there like I'll always have, but that's going to be a huge one, and I mean Iowa, they've got, it's probably like, I don't know, like 55-45 like us right now for the West. So I mean, I'd say watch out for Iowa. Look out for them next week. We'll know whether or not they're really legit. But yeah, that's who I would go for.
I think I'll have a better opinion on the Badgers in the rest of the season after we see how they do down at Northwestern and Evans Field, because that place is just like a weird vacuum of oddities happening all the time. Anybody who plays there. But one team I think people should watch for sure, besides Kentucky and besides Michigan, I think is Texas, and that's that Texas is gonna fall. The Texas football is not back. I guarantee you they will lose at least 2 more games this season. I believe Iowa State is going to have a good chance for an upset, and I believe West Virginia is also going to kick their ass. So, yeah, watch out for Iowa State upsetting them in the second and final week. Also, what was the Iowa State upset I called a couple weeks ago? Was that against... Yeah, it was against West Virginia. So, yeah, I think Texas football is going to fall real hard on their face in the next few weeks. So let's move on. Let's talk about the NFL and the Green Bay Packers. Even more hurt. So I think it goes without saying that it's sad how much is being talked about the refs again during an NFL season, and not enough is being talked about AP having a great year. Pat Mahomes coming out of Kansas City in his first year being a starter, having an awesome year.
As much as I hate them, the Bears.
Yep, the Bears are having a great year. Trubisky's looking somewhat composed.
The defense is
defense is keeping them in games, for sure. I mean, they acquired a generational talent in Khalil Mack.
Yeah, exactly.
It's sad that people are talking about the whole reffing situation with roughing the passer over the talent that is widespread in the league this year. So we're going to talk about the reffing. Any comments on roughing the passer in the league in general, not just for the Packers because we're pretty biased there, but in the league as a whole? Any comments on the whole roughing the passer?
They need to set their standards. Mm-hmm. There's so many outliers and so many just oddities when it comes to the call that they need to set the standard of what is roughing the passer and what isn't, because it's outrageous. Some stuff that doesn't get called and some stuff that does.
I think they need to do how they do it with the kicker, where there's a running into the kicker penalty and there's a roughing the kicker penalty, and one's 5 and one's 15. I think the NFL needs to realize that this is a violent sport and people are going to get hurt. And if they don't want to do that, then they need to create a way in the rules for the run game to open up more, so that you're not paying your quarterbacks the most, that the wealth gets distributed evenly among skill players. But yeah, honestly, at this point, they probably should just put flags on the quarterbacks. Things have gotten better lately as the weeks have gone on, but it's still pretty bad. And I mean, if they're gonna have this roughing the passer penalty, they should put in a flopping penalty too for the quarterbacks that really sell it. There was the Clay Matthews had a sack, and they called roughing the passer.
Yep.
So yeah. So one thing I want to talk about the Vikings game real quick, how the refs basically tied the game for the Vikings in which we had an interception which was negated by roughing the passer, which I don't know how that is allowed, but okay. I mean, like, because he got the pass off. It was a clean pass.
Yep.
Matthews makes the hit pretty much instantly after he throws the ball, and then it was Jari intercepted it.
Yep.
So I don't understand how, even though the penalty didn't cause an interception, it's still enforced on an offensive possession.
I feel you. Mm-hmm.
So it just doesn't make sense.
It's not like a holding call or pass interference or something that actually influences the play. It was after.
And then the late whistle on the Crosby kick where he made the field goal the first time, like the ball was clearly snapped in J.K. Scott, aka MVP of the NFL, in his hands. He had it turned, and then the whistle was blown.
Yep.
So I don't understand how they could even stop the play there. That just doesn't make sense to me. And then the Vikings would go on to have that long. So I mean, we did kind of mess up a little bit, but still, there were 2 times where we won the game, and then we got it taken away from us. And I could probably go on for another 10 minutes about roughing the passer penalties, but I'd rather not. I'd rather talk about the fun stuff. So people are shitting on Aaron Jones not getting enough touches, but if you go back and you look at the box scores for the games, Jones and Williams are pretty much even on touches for every single game. The one thing that doesn't make sense to me is that when Jones is the hot hand, he doesn't stick with him, or when Williams is the hot hand, he doesn't stick with him. So, or I'll throw in like Ty Montgomery in there too.
It's the whole running back situation. I get where they're coming from with this dual threat thing, but in the end of the day, you need someone back there to help protect Aaron Rodgers, and that's what we're not doing. We're lining up Ty Montgomery from the running back position into the slot to give Aaron Rodgers another weapon and going empty, and then the O-line just can't protect him. We need someone back there protecting him.
Yeah, we don't have a Ripkowski anymore.
Exactly.
He's not putting a fullback on the roster, and he doesn't even throw a tight end back there to help. So.
Exactly. We can't go empty. With our O-line and Brian Bulaga being out, we can't go empty.
Yeah. I mean, Bulaga is getting overpaid at $8 million a year
100%.
to be a completely mediocre right tackle in the NFL.
Yeah.
And I mean, it doesn't quite exactly help that like all 3 of our like quote unquote like running backs on the roster, like they're each like good at one thing. Like Jones is by far the like better talent of just like being a pure runner, and then Jamal Williams is kind of like so, but he's a great pass blocker or better pass blocker out of the 3, and then Montgomery is obviously more comfortable, clearly just being like you just said, running out to the slot and doing that whole thing. So like the fact that each 3 kind of do like one thing better, but none of them have like a more complete like skill set, like it's definitely been difficult. I can see from McCarthy's standpoint on who should get more of like X amount of snaps, and then just like game situation. We've had to play catch up pretty much every game so far. So like running the ball is kind of like almost like admitting defeat at that point.
Any comments on the offensive play calling?
I think not having Jordy this year, we don't have a real deep threat, which definitely limits the playbook. And we were supposed to have Jay Kumaro for that, but he decided to do a front flip in preseason and tear apart his shoulder. So I think that's definitely limiting it, and why Aaron Rodgers isn't getting those magical passes anymore, because we don't have that deep threat.
Yeah, we don't have future Super Bowl MVP Jay Kumaro back. So until he gets back, I mean, Devontae could also be that. Geronimo's out too, but
I mean, yeah, everybody's like just hurt. We have yet to have everybody starting besides probably week 1.
Yeah. So. In my opinion, it's kind of like we got Joe Philbin back, so the offense was supposed to kind of be revived, but it hasn't been at all. Like the play calling has been stagnant. He doesn't get Rodgers into a rhythm. The wide receiver routes aren't creative. It's not good. So with that being said, is Mike McCarthy on the hot seat?
Yeah, I mean, if the way it's looking, it's gonna come down to the very last week of who's gonna, I don't know if I see any team running away with it. I mean, right now between the Packers, Bears, and even Lions, everybody's gonna be 4-something and 3-something within the next couple weeks. So if we don't make the playoffs, like, oh yeah, for sure he's gone. And I'd say even like first playoff game, like if it's not looks like competitive, I think he might be gone as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about playoffs. You could look at Dwayne Casey. He brought the Raptors to a number 1 seed last year and then lost in the first round, and they booted him. Mm-hmm. And that's what it's all about with postseason, win championships. So I agree.
I think he's 100% on the hot seat. I personally have wanted him gone for, I think this will be the second year now. I think he's just kind of lost touch with the locker room and has lost the locker room itself, and the fact that he has lost control over the players as far as like disciplinary issues go. So, and having like faith in him as a coach. But yeah, they have a tough schedule coming up. They have the Rams, they got the Patriots. Both of those are away. They got to go out to Seattle, which is always a tough place to play at. They have to go to Minnesota and play the Vikings in the bank. So yeah, they got a tough set of games coming up here. The only easy one they have is the Dolphins at home. So yeah, it's definitely a long road ahead for them. And Cole Madison, I believe, is still out. And he was one guy that I was looking forward to seeing him in preseason. And he's had some, I believe it was like a physically unable to perform or something like that, but he's had some personal issues that he's working out, and the Packers are in full support of him getting that taken care of. So whatever that is, obviously wish him well and hope that everything kind of speeds up and we can get him back as soon as possible, because I'd love to see him play. I think he'd be a great addition to that offensive line, because Lane Taylor ain't cutting it, boy. So impressions on the defense. This is one place where we kind of got picky last year.
I thought bringing a new defense coordinator would shake things up. So far, nothing has been shaken at all. We're still getting beat when we dropped a zone.
Mm-hmm. I think part of that has to do with it. They're a pretty young core, which is good and bad. It's bad because right now they're not going to be consistent. Because the defense has been amazing and flashy at times, and then there have been times where they're just completely inconsistent and don't have a clue of what's going on. Kind of like the Badgers during BYU when they pressed 3 guys and let someone go over the top and score a touchdown. But they've kind of been inconsistent. I guess that's kind of expected with a young core. But like Josh Jackson looks pretty good. Still playing for the Phoenix Suns.
There it is. There it is.
Jari's looks amazing.
Yep.
And I don't remember who that was that described him as like a pinball and a pinball machine. He's just everywhere at once. But yeah, that's pretty much described him. Kevin King has been welcomed back. Clinton Dix is balling out. Hopefully the front office gets their shit together and keeps him around, because we definitely need a good safety. Because Kentrell Bryce hasn't really stepped up into that role yet, which is unfortunate. But yeah, I think the defense come week 11, week 12 should be more consistent, considering they'll have more games under their belt. So I'm hoping that stays true. But yeah, any early favorites for the playoffs?
I'm pretty sure you could lock the Rams in.
Yep. Patriots always.
Patriots for sure.
Option.
Other NFC, the Saints are looking pretty rolling ahead so far with the offense that they've got. Defense is definitely not as bad statistically as they used to be. And then,
I think
Vikings as well. Their defense and offensive skills, I think they're...
Yeah, I think they were, last I checked, were like middle of the road, so that's a lot better. That's kind of where we expected them or wanted them to be. I think you're right with the Vikings. I think they're going to have a good shot at making the playoffs. I don't think they'll make it very far. Kirk Cousins has yet to win a playoff game, and I continue to remind my Vikings friends of that. I think Jared Goff has a great chance. I think this is probably one of the best Rams teams they've had in a couple of years.
Since like 2001.
Yeah. The greatest show on turf.
Yeah.
2.0. So, I mean, as far as the NFC goes, if I had to pick a favorite, I think it's going to come down to the Rams and the Saints. AFC is kind of up in the air. Patriots are looking weak. And Blake Bortles down in Jacksonville hasn't looked like himself. Or I should say, he hasn't looked like he did last year.
It's just looking like a hot mess right now.
Yeah.
Like,
But if I had to pick, I mean, I don't know who I'd put against the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game.
I'd say Baltimore. I mean, they got a really stellar defense right now.
That's a spicy hot take.
I mean, Joe Flacco is kind of going, semi-elite status. I mean, he's at almost 2K yards already. He's not looking...
Elite?
Maybe elite. Might be elite.
Joe Flacco, elite. I could see the Ravens breaking a playoff spot. I think I would consider them a bubble team in my opinion, but you do have a very strong case, sir.
I'm never going to count out the Pats because simply they're the Pats.
Because Bill Belichick's got 50 plays up his sleeve.
Yep.
Hides all his secrets in his hood. Did you hear so someone asked him after the Lions game, what did you say to Matt Patricia after the game? And he just responded with a flat no.
Classic.
Bill Belichick, never change, please. I love you. Okay, I gotta take a bathroom break. Sorry. So any closing comments on the NFL before we move on? Packers. Bill Belichick. Matt Stafford.
I'm gonna wait another 5 or 6 weeks.
Yeah. One comment I did want to make is that Cory and I were talking about this the other day, and that is Aaron Rodgers seems a bit out of character lately. He's making some throws that he would not normally make, and some throws don't go to places where they usually would. So that's all I gotta say. So let's move on to baseball, boys.
Oof.
We'll get fresh into the wound, but before we do that, we're gonna talk about the Chicago Cubs and their horrible spiral down the stretch. That reminds me, if you want a good Chicago-style hot dog, don't forget to check out our sponsor of the show, Frank's.
What?
South side of the square.
What? We're switching it up? Frank
Specialty Chicago-style hot dogs. Don't get the cheese curds, get the French fries, or they have some pita fried stuff. I don't know. It's amazing. Just go down there, tell them we sent you. You'll get your whole order for the price that you pay like everyone else.
Wow. Relationship with Ponchos is over. Frank is my new best friend.
All right, so Cubs down the stretch were absolutely garbage. I think they ended up having 40, no, it wasn't that high. Yeah, I think it was 38 games in 39 days, somewhere around there. That was pretty high. But down the stretch, they just could not get it done, period. And during the second half, the bats were absolutely garbage. Everyone in on-base percentage was below their past 2 years. Everyone except for actually Baez was the only one who was above an on base percentage. Everyone's OPS plus also was below. And we had 41 games in which we scored 1 run or less. And the only team we were behind in that stat category was the O's out of Baltimore. So, needless to say, we needed to fire our hitting coach, Chili Davis, and we did. They did not have a good stretch there in the final. I mean, it was their division to blow away, and they blew it away. I think we have a good year to look next to. Good year to look forward to. We'll have hopefully Yu Darvish will be back. Brendan Morrow will be back. Hopefully KB can stay healthy. Drew Smiley should be healthy and be back, and hopefully he can crack the roster. I think we maybe get one more bat here, and we'll be all right. But let's talk about the playoffs here now. So let's start with talking about the National League and the Milwaukee Brewers. Cory, any comments you want to make?
It was a tough. Tough ending. Great series though. Speaking on the NLCS, I don't think from an entertainment standpoint, it definitely lived up to a pretty good series. Definitely would say, home run wise, it was a pretty low. I think maybe only 5 or 6 home runs in the entire series, which was kind of weird considering the Dodgers and Brewers were top 5 of home runs for the year, respectively. But yeah, credit to LA. They kind of did more of the little things correctly throughout the whole series, and that's the reason why they're moving on. That's kind of all there really is to say about that.
I called this back during the trade deadline, but not finding a true number 1 starting pitcher is what hurt the Brewers down the stretch. In all honesty.
Gio and Miley. Miley. Well, I shouldn't even say we didn't acquire him in the deadline. We had him since May, but he was hurt for most of it, so it kind of felt like he was an acquisition in the second half there. But yeah, Gio. Not sure I really understood it. To my recollection, we didn't give anything up huge, but the guy kind of was pitching. He was hoping you'd get a revival from him. Had a new fresh spot coming out of the situation that he was in Washington, because after he was sub 500 in wins for them, and I think he had one maybe good his first 2 starts with the crew was what we were hoping to get out of him, but after that, Harley didn't contribute to the postseason much. His only starts didn't even make it past first one was like 2 innings, and then went straight to the bullpen. And then I don't even think he started a game in the NLCS. No, yeah, I can't remember which one that was. But yeah, the acquisitions were very suspect. Scope being another one kind of didn't do shit. So
I think obviously you gotta let Scope go, but I think keep Moustakas around and keep Granderson around if you can keep him for cheap. I think Granderson's probably one of the best bats coming off the bench.
He's other than
he's proven himself in the postseason multiple times. So
yeah, I would, if he is willing to stick around for a veteran salary. I would definitely go for it. Can always use another left-handed at bat off the bench. It's no question.
Mm-hmm. Obviously the Brewers had probably one of the better bullpens in the NL until Jeffries kind of hit a little hump in the road there. During the regular season he was amazing, and then just during the playoffs he just couldn't hold composure whatsoever.
Yeah, through game 3 of the NLCS, 8 out of the 11 runs that we gave up were a result of him.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, the home run that he gave up to Puig last night, he had pretty favorable numbers against Puig so far in his career. But even the pitch that Puig hit out, it wasn't that bad of a pitch, but it was, left it kind of down and in, and that's where Puig obviously likes it. So.
Mm-hmm. And you had Hader, who I think was second in strikeouts the entire year as well. And I he's in the top 3 for walks, hits, per innings pitched. So he definitely continued to have very unlike the Brewers to have a very strong second half. But yeah, it really did that. Knievel did also great job down the stretch in the second half. And obviously Yelich has a strong case for MVP. He obviously pushed the Brewers in that second half, and especially there down the stretch in September. Without Yelich, I don't think the Brewers win the division. I think they would have had to play that wild card game. So that's good. That's good because they, in a 1-game sample, obviously it's really tough to try and win. Whereas if it's a best of 5, it's a lot easier. So. But yeah, so Christian Yelich, I think, has this probably strongest case of the NL MVP here. He led the NL in WAR and OPS and slugging percentage. And everybody's questioning whether Javi Baez should be in there, and I think he only led in total bases and RBIs. But I think Christian Yelich ended up almost leading in home runs. I think he was like second or third.
Yeah.
So. And I believe Yelich had the best batting average out of everyone in the NL.
Yeah.
So I 100% believe he should be the NL MVP. And then the NL Cy Young, we were just talking about this last night. Hands down, Jacob deGrom. 1.7 ERA, 269 strikeouts, and .912 walks, hits, and pitch. So he definitely carried that Mets team to a very underwhelming record. And honestly, I don't think anyone comes close to him. Maybe Max Scherzer, just because he had that one shutout and I think he had 300 Ks, a little bit better, and obviously had more wins. But I think DeGrom obviously is a strong case for the NL Cy Young. So on the AL side, I want to talk a little bit about the ALCS and the Stros. Getting a little bit robbed from the Red Sox there. There was the fan interference call. Did you see that?
Mm-hmm.
I want your take on that. What did you see?
Well, so the fan interference thing is kind of a lot like the, roughing the passer thing that's going on in the NFL. They've got the rule in place, but there isn't really a set, all right, this is where we can point to figure it out. I would think, and kind of a pretty standard benchmark for it is that if you were at any stadium to draw a visible line up or barrier up straight from the yellow line, then if a fan crosses over that invisible spot, then that's kind of interference. Which, looking at the replays of it, it didn't look like the guy kind of exactly touched the ball, but his hands were, over that line. Mm-hmm. So, if that's how they want to call it, then, that's definitely what it was. And, definitely hurt Houston. But I don't really, if you're a fan like that, I don't know why, Cubs, you know it with Bartman there. I don't understand why you're putting yourself in that position. Just sit back in your seat and if the ball comes to you, let the ball come to you. I don't know why you're reaching. To be honest, but
I understand the reaching is part of a natural reaction. I don't think it was fan interference. I think his hand was behind the line. But with that being said, I still think the Red Sox are the better team and would have ended up winning the series anyways. They are quite stacked, to say the least. And obviously got Mookie Betts out there just cranking homers left and right. So it'll be interesting to see now that we have this new playoff format of it's no longer the home team's decided by the All-Star game. The home team is the team with the better record. So the AL is only going to have their pitchers bat 3 times versus possible 4 times. So yeah, it should be quite an interesting series here. And the Dodgers are coming back from a previous World Series appearance. They got probably one of the hottest bats going around with Pui, who just hit a homer last night, 3-run homer last night. And they have pretty good players coming off the bench that can play in that DH spot. They got Kike. I think this is going to be probably one of the better. As much as I hated it, like I was telling you early on before the playoffs started, obviously I wanted to see Athletics and Brewers if the Cubs didn't make it. But it's a large market matchup, unfortunately. So I think the only other thing I wanted to mention was if Ohtani doesn't win Rookie of the Year in the AL, the MLB's a joke. So, so World Series predictions real quick before we move on. I'm thinking it's going to go 6 games, and I think Boston's going to take it. I don't think the Dodgers can match their starting pitching, in all honesty.
I mean, so for LA, Buehler, Kershaw, and then Sale and Price.
Yep.
I would give LA the edge there just because Price, only until the last start, has proven himself to actually be a accountable postseason starter.
Mm-hmm.
But like after that, Boston still has Rick Porcello, and I think maybe one other guy that's hands down, better than any other starter that LA can throw out. So I would say if LA hopes for a split between the first 2 with Sale and Price, I think after that, LA could rattle off 3 straight, Boston could rattle off 3 straight wins, closing out Game 5 with Sale, no problem. So I would put Boston in 5.
Ooh. Yeah, I think Boston. Yeah, I'd say Boston even has the edge probably in bats too, with Bogarts and Martinez and obviously Betts. I think. I don't know. I really want to see it go 6. I'd like to see it go 7. Fall classics are always fun to watch, but yeah, I could see it going 5. But I really hope it goes 6. So let's move on. Let's talk about the NBA here. We got the season just kicking off this past week. We have the big Buck Horny boys breaking out, going 2-0. So Connor, I'll let you take over for a little bit and talk about your Horny boys.
Well, if we're gonna boil it down to why the Bucks are doing so well, we could start with the offseason and the hiring of Coach Budenholzer. He comes in, reinvents the entire offense, and he's known as a defensive coach. Mm-hmm. He brought the Atlanta Hawks, led by Paul Millsap and Kyle Korver, to a 60-win season and the Eastern Conference Finals based on their defense. And he comes in, reinvents the entire offense, which was amazing. We shot 49 threes on Friday night, and the previous season, our max was like 32, 34, somewhere around there. So it starts with Bud, and then it comes to our acquisitions in the offseason. We picked up 3 shooters, essentially. We got a stretch 5 in Brook Lopez. We got a backup stretch 4 in Ursan, and then we picked up Pat, I don't know how to say his last name, Connaughton, I think.
Yes,
I don't know. It's from Portland. He's a great sharpshooter from the 2 position. And then we drafted
the big Ragu.
The big Ragu himself, Dante DiVincenzo. He's got great court vision. He was kind of not feeling it in preseason and the G League. Not G League, Summer League. Wasn't feeling it at all actually, but he looks good. He's got great vision. I really like his hustle too. He's getting boards. He's getting threes. It looks good. So I think if you look at the whole scope of the NBA and you look at like ranking of all the off-season acquisitions, I think Bucks are definitely top 3.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I think you could consider maybe OKC being up there since they retained Paul George.
Yep, and they got rid of Melo.
Yep. And talk about a team that could fly under the radar and have a great year. because you got Westbrook, you got PG, and you got
Steven
Adams.
Yep.
So
Mhm.
if Roberson can step up, you might actually have a strong case for a Western Conference contender. And the Lakers kind of shit in the bed right now too.
Yeah, their defense isn't looking as good as it should be, I guess, but you can't really doubt LeBron. It's only 3 or 4 games in. So
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's still the beginning of the season.
the Lakers will probably make playoffs. I'm predicting LeBron will drag them to a playoff appearance.
I guess one thing I want to mention before we get going into kind of the meat of the start of the season. So Thon put on 10 pounds this offseason, which was reported but has been confirmed. And then DJ Wilson during the summer league just lighting it up. And has he seen the floor yet?
No.
I was gonna say I don't think so. So any comments on him?
I don't think we should have drafted him in the first round. I said that when he first got drafted, and I'll stand by it because like we all watched the Michigan play that year, and he wasn't even like the number 1 scorer on that team because he was behind Derek Walton Jr.
Yes.
Yep. So I think we can try to trade him. That's my personal opinion. I think someone will take like a second rounder for him, and I'd be okay with that because he with the depth we have on the bench, we can't use him. He's not strong enough to play 4, and he's not like fast enough to play either 2 or 3. He's just like I don't like him personally.
I think if we put DJ Wilson and then package him with the man from beyond the arc, the comeback kid, North Carolina legend, John Henson for Kemba Walker.
Why would we need Kemba Walker?
Because he can just chuck up threes.
Yeah, but we have Eric Bledsoe.
Yeah, but Eric's trash.
Is he though?
Okay, but but when it came down when the time when it mattered during Game 6 and 7 against Boston, he didn't show up.
Yeah,
that's all I gotta say.
Yeah, so you're gonna take this player's ability off of 2 playoff games.
When it matters.
By that logic, Thon would be the best player on our team because he got 6 blocks in 2 games.
Guantanamo Bay.
I said it in the last one, even before off season. Guantanamo Bay will be unleashed this year.
Still practicing, still getting back up to speed season, but hopefully he'll be there. Speed recovery and wishes to Thon.
The bench depth this year is insane.
Yeah,
and I love it.
I was going to talk about next, how crazy the bench is between Ursan and then you have Deli and DiVincenzo.
Deli, I don't think has played yet. But he's because we have Tim Frazier.
Yeah. And you have it'll come to me. I guess Sterling really hasn't played yet either. But even there, like you have a guy who could play 2 and even play 3 if he wanted. And then Thon will be coming off the bench. Yeah, it's looking pretty bright in Milwaukee for them. Quick note on Henson. He is 0.667% from the 3 line right now. Kid's insane from beyond the arc. So it's good to see him finding a fit that works in the offense.
Yeah.
And Booty kind of recognizing that.
Still think we're paying him too much, but
yeah. So things I want to talk about in the whole scope of the NBA. You want to comment on your boy DeMar for Kawhi Leonard?
Listen, I think honestly, if you were to scope out the top 3 in the offseason, top 3 teams, I'd probably put the Raptors at number 1. Because they brought in a head coach just like us who can work with his players. Nick Nurse, he's a great head coach. They brought in, obviously they traded away DeMar, who plays below average defense, above average offense. But you got Kawhi, who plays above average defense and above average offense. And they essentially traded their backup center in Jakob Poeltl for a starting shooting guard, which they then lost in DeMar, which they got in Danny Green. And Danny Green's a great 3-and-D guy who works well with Kyle Lowry and then Kawhi. So I'd probably put the Raptors at 1 and then the Bucks at 2. And then probably rounding out the top 3 for off-season changes would be the Lakers. Because, LeBron is LeBron. You can't deny him. Yeah. So, and then I would give my worst off-season award to the Houston Rockets.
Yes.
Because The Houston Rockets team last year might have been one of the most disgusting offenses I've ever seen. They were so good.
Yeah.
And if they wouldn't have shot like 12% from the floor in Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals last year, they would have also swept the Cavs in the finals and won. James Harden put up a 60-point triple-double at one point last year. That's how good that offense was. But they decided to not re-sign 2 of their starting 5 from last year in Trevor Ariza and Bucks legend Luke Mbah-a-Moute. And all they brought in place of them, they brought in Marquise Chris, who's, I guess, young, and he has good paint spacing, but he has no three-point shot, hardly any defense. And then Carmelo Anthony, who single-handedly lost OKC the playoffs last year. Shot like 30% from the floor with like averaging 14 shots. It's not how you win basketball games.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really like the trade in Toronto. I mean, Masai knows what he's doing. It was good. I don't know. It's firing Dwayne Casey was good too. Like, I get it. He leads your team to a first place in the East, and then you just lose in playoffs again, and changes need to happen.
Should we talk about the Jimmy Buckets situation? How they could have traded Jimmy Buckets for Kawhi because he wanted to be traded.
Yeah, and apparently they were super close to a accusation with the Heat too. But a lot of people are on Jimmy's side, a lot of people aren't. I'm kind of a toss-up. I mean, I understand where he's coming from. He wants to play basketball, and if the people around him don't want to, I can see why that's frustrating. Yeah. But like Eric says, I don't know why he has to be a baby about it and just start whining to everyone. I mean, you can just like be like, you just pull the old Eric Bledsoe, just tweet, I don't want to be here, and then get traded. But instead he took it to the next level when it comes to talking to the media and on Instagram and all that.
You can't eat Chipotle and drain corner threes without me. Oh wait, that was John Henson, sorry.
That's John Henson.
I mean, I think I understand where he's coming. He's 100% on a Minnesota team that is mediocre and really only has Cat and him, and Wiggins has not shown up the past 2 years. So, he definitely deserves a trade somewhere. And where he wants to go is a big market, and I don't think that's going to happen. Well, it can happen. It's just he's going to go to a big market. He's going to lose because out of all the big market teams, I don't think anybody really has space. All the big market teams that are competitive.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no space for him.
And that's the thing about what he's doing is he says he wants big market, but he also says he wants to win.
Yeah. Going
to Miami, you're not going to win a title. Going to both New York teams, you're not going to win a title.
Philly, maybe, if they can make some space for him, but
like he needs to choose what he wants. He needs to pull DeMarcus Cousins, get a huge pay cut, win a championship.
Jabari Parker, should we talk about him?
Remember when Brook Lopez posted him in the preseason? That was funny.
There was the highlight of him in the that was preseason. His transition defense, where he just basically let the guy walk right past him.
Yeah, Jabari is known for not playing defense. Like, everyone knows that in the NBA. But Chicago decided to take a risk. They have a young core, and he could be a young leader for them. And he ended up on the bench. So at least the Bucks don't have him anymore.
He's on a 2-year contract. The second year's an option for, I believe, the Bulls can choose to drop him. So yeah, they definitely made a smart decision there. And this is coming from a guy who wanted a max contract. And what was that, May? So yeah, it's kind of bittersweet. I guess, yeah, it is bittersweet because as a person, Jabari did a lot for the city of Milwaukee, 100%. But as a player, he's absolute dumpster fire. Any other comments on the NBA you want to make?
From off season.
Off season, first 3-4 games of the season. John Henson and Chipotle.
I definitely think the Bucks are going to be a top 3 team in the East.
Over Indy?
Number 3. Yes, over Indy. Over Philly.
Yeah, I think it would probably go Toronto, Boston, us.
Ooh, see, I'd say Boston, Toronto, us. I think Boston has the longevity with Brad Stevens, and Gordon Hayward's on minute restrictions right now. Kyrie's not finding a shot, but that'll eventually change.
Yeah.
I guess the biggest news from NBA today was the suspensions of Ingram and Rondo and Paul.
That was fun. We were talking about that last night.
Was Ingram actually threw a punch, whereas Rondo slapped CP3?
Yeah. So I mean, it's what LeBron. He's gonna miss Ingram for 4 and Rondo for 3. So probably 3 more losses heading their way.
I mean, they have Lonzo, and that's it outside of LeBron. So
I mean, they have Kuz and Lance Stevenson.
Yeah, who shot a 3 and turned around to the crowd and airballed it by half a foot. So
do something stupid, and the people will never forget.
It's like B.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go Raptors 1. I'm gonna go Boston 2. Indiana's gonna sneak in 3, and we'll place 4.
Ooh.
We'll place 4th, but that'll be okay.
Ooh. I mean, I liked Indy's accusations in the offseason. I think they did really good. Re-signing Thad Young, picking up Tyreek Evans. But like I was telling people all offseason, I think Indy is the cutoff team. I think they're going to take 4, and everyone who beats them in regular season is going to take top 3, and then they're just going to beat everyone below them. They are the cutoff. They are the definite 4. And I was originally saying Philly 3 and Bucks 5, but the way Philly's been playing, Ben Simmons can't shoot outside 5 feet.
Yeah.
And Joel Embiid's lighting it up defensively and offensively, but you can't carry a team with one center prior to what Nikola Jokic is doing. But
where did Drew Holiday end up at again?
He's still with the Pellies.
Oh, he's still with I thought he got traded.
Nope.
Oh.
Yeah, the Pellies are my Western team this year. Last year, I was really high on the Nuggets. And then, Jokic showed up, but no one else did. But the Pellies are my Western team. I think it's AD's year.
Over OKC?
Over OKC. I think Pellies, if you round out the West top 3, I'm going to say G-State number 1.
Bold pick.
Sure.
That's a hot take.
G-State 1. I'm gonna say Pellies 2, and then the
Smoothie King Arena, turn up.
Utah 3. I think their defense got it. Gobert's coming off the defensive player of the year. I think, and then Derek Favors is always solid defensively. They literally have the same starting 5 as last year, and Joe Ingles is going off. People are getting jingled left and right. It's insane. I love it. But yeah, I think Pellies are my Western team. I think their starting 5 plus their bench depth is what it takes to get it done.
Okay. I think you're right. I think it'll go G-State, obviously.
Yep.
Pellies, Jazz, and then I think 4 and 5 is going to be a toss-up between OKC and Houston, honestly.
I don't think the Rockets are going to do as well as...
even down the stretch when they can make some moves, you don't think they're...
They lost so much defensively with getting rid of Ariza and Luka Mbamute. That's what made them good, because they were amazing offense and then just an average defense. But that's all you need when you have such a good offense. But, I don't even know who their starting 3 is now, because Melo's coming off the bench.
Well, so obviously CP3 and
James Harden.
James Harden.
Yeah, but they're 3. Can he guard LeBron? Can he guard Kevin Durant? No, you can't. So...
Yeah, I'm looking up their lineup right now. Hold on, I'll get it to you. Okay, so Harden, Paul, Ennis, Tucker, and Capella.
They're not even starting Marquise Chris?
As of right now, it doesn't look like it.
Ooh, rough. Yeah, I think the window closed on the Rockets. Last year was the year, and now it's back to mediocrity for them.
And CP3 will retire without a championship.
Oh yeah.
Still gonna be a coach.
Oh yeah.
So quick notes on the NHL. I think we're about 7-8 games deep in the season here now, depending on which teams you're looking at. But I'm just gonna talk real quick about the offseason. So we got Pacioretty coming to Vegas, being traded from Montreal. I think he's going to help replace the role that James the Real Deal Neal, filled. We got probably one of the biggest moves of the offseason, and that is Carlson being traded to the Sharks for a bag of pucks. We'll get more on that later. Zetterberg is on long-term injured reserve and is set to retire. And I thought there was... Oh, yeah, obviously. Jonathan Tavares to Toronto. And Toronto still hasn't signed William Nylander yet, so I'm assuming they're probably just going to try and trade his rights away at this point. Woohoo, dirty. Dirty catch by Thielen. But yeah, so I think the Western Conference is probably going to be one of the strongest conferences this year. You have the Preds.
Go Preds.
You have the Preds, you have the Avs, you have the Jets, and then on top of that, you also have the Sharks, are probably going to be pretty good. Vegas is kind of stagnating right now, but I think they're also going to be a pretty good team down the stretch. Whereas in the East, I think it's clear-cut. Toronto and Boston are probably the two best teams. And then you can throw in the Lightning in there. But outside of that, I think the West is probably going to be one of the tougher divisions, or I guess you could say conferences. And then the toughest division is probably going to be the Pacific, honestly. Actually, no, I take that back. Central will probably be the toughest division. Because you'll have Preds, Avs, Jets, and then on top of that, you have the Blues, who have a pretty good squad, made some good offseason acquisitions. The Stars, who are hoping to get their offense revamped, and then the Wild, obviously, and then the Hawks, who are just going to be completely mediocre this year. But yeah, and then one other thing I wanted to mention. Did you see the Jalen Ramsey comment of in 6 months of training, I could play in the NHL?
Are you serious?
Yeah. 6 months of training, he could play in the NHL. And then Subban posted on Twitter of him working out in the Preds facility and like doing all his like edge work drills and everything like that. It was like, okay, Ramsey, let's see you do this. Yeah, it was pretty funny. There's no way he could be able to do that. The amount of training that those guys go through, it just walking and running does not translate to skating on the ice. And you also have to add in a stick in a hand. But big news out of the West, Seattle is probably going to get a hockey team. It sounds like it's pretty much a done deal. They just have to sign the papers. So,
wait, is that like an expansion team?
Expansion team. So
is
that an expansion draft?
Evening it up with the Knights, or are they adding another one?
I believe it even everything. Yeah, to even out the West and the Eastern conferences to be at 16 teams apiece. So finally have an even conference for once.
Why did they not do that from the beginning?
I don't know why. I mean, it used to be that there was only one conference that had one more team, and then they moved Detroit to the East, and they moved the conferences around a little bit. So yeah, it's kind of poopy, but I understand it because then this way all the teams in the East play all teams in the East, and they don't have to worry about time zone change. Whereas
that makes sense.
But yeah, so Blackhawks. Oh my God, let me tell you a little bit. So power play has been absolutely atrocious. Through 3 games, they were 0 for 10. And the one thing that really frustrates me is that when they're on when they have full strength on a 5v5, they've had some great creativity. They show a lot more hockey IQ than last year when it comes to trying to make some plays, and it just disappears during the power play completely. Brendan Saad has not been stepping up and filling Hosa's role like he was expected to. He's expected to be that man who was strong in the forecheck, played well along the boards, was able to use his body, and was a great scorer, and none of that's been happening. He's been demoted to the 4th line. And I think he was even given a white jersey at practice about a couple days ago. So, yeah, but pleasant surprises, though. Captain Sirius is back. Taves had his first hat trick in over a season. His last one was February 2017, and his most recent one, I think, was just like a week ago. So that was nice to see. Yoki, who we got from, I believe, from the Preds, has 5 assists in 7 games. So he's looking pretty good on the defensive side. He's obviously made some rookie mistakes when it comes to playing defense down the stretch, but definitely been a great addition to the blue line. Crow came back, had a hot night last night, only missed one save. I believe his save percentage was like .92 something last night. I think he got first star of the night. And obviously I said this before, but defense doesn't look great yet. They're still making some bad plays and having mental lapses, but hopefully that'll change. Hopefully Gustafsson will be stepping up in a more leadership role come later this season. So should we talk about Gritty, the Philadelphia Flyers mascot, breaking the internet?
What?
Did you see this, man?
No.
Oh.
What did he do?
So they introduced Gritty probably about 3.5 weeks ago, 3.5 to 4 weeks ago, and he's just this giant orange man with googly eyes, and has literally broken the internet. If you would take Animal from the Muppets, put like 50 pounds on him,
What?
and googly eyes, that's Gritty. Like he did the Kim Kardashian
What?
pose where she like has like he had the wine glass like on his rear and was like squirting water out of a Gatorade
What?
bottle into it. Yeah.
What is this thing? What is the team?
The Flyers, but
Is this what a Flyer looks like in the wild?
yes.
Why is he with John Oliver? What is happening here?
But yeah, he's been fun to mess around with. He's definitely taken in his role in the organization for the Flyers of being fucking ridiculous as all hell. But yeah, he's been pretty fun. I think the only other remarks I had was, I forgot, JVR's out 5 to 6 weeks. I know that's kind of old, but that kind of sucks for the Flyers getting him back, and then he just immediately gets injured. And then Dallin hasn't been looking too bad in his first few games. I don't think he's put up any points yet, but he, as far as like playing defense goes, he looks pretty good. His skating ability is as expected, if not better, than what was talked about. So he has 3 points in 8 games. So I believe his plus minus is at a 0 right now too. So playing for a Buffalo squad that is in a rebuild mode, almost out of it. He's looking pretty good and looking like he's gonna be able to help out that squad a lot. But yeah, I mean, like I said, still start of the season. Things are gonna change within a month or so, but I honestly don't see the Blackhawks making it out of the bottom of the Central this year. Honestly, I think they'll be the worst team in the Central. Even with Crow back, they're not a good team. So I guess we'll move on to our closing remarks here. So a couple things I want to mention on the bright side of Wisconsin sports. Women's hockey and men's hockey coming hot out the gate. The women are, I believe, 9-0 now, undefeated.
Are they ranked second in the nation?
They are going to be ranked first now because Clarkson lost this weekend, or I believe last weekend. And then men are 3-1 with their only loss going to Clarkson. So they got a pretty good squad. The young core they had last year has aged well. Got a good chance to make a run at a Big Ten title. So look out for those two teams. Obviously, women's always looking out for them. Women's soccer this year is actually looking pretty good. They're 12-3-3 overall. They're 6-2-3 in conference. I believe they won 4 games before their recent loss to Ohio State at Ohio State. So they got the Big Ten quarters coming up here this weekend on Sunday. They're definitely a team to watch. Kind of exciting. Men's soccer is pretty young. Not too much going on there, but I think they could have a good squad next year. They've had some good games against a great Michigan squad and a good game against Indiana, in which they held them to only 3 goals and were able to score 1 so they didn't get shut out. So look for them next year. And let's talk, oh my gosh, women's volleyball. 14-4, like top 5 in the country easily. Beat Nebraska, beat Iowa today. I think probably their worst loss was to Iowa, if That was also in Iowa City. So yeah, and I think they traded. Yeah, they went 1-1 with Illinois. So they got a big game coming up here against Minnesota on Halloween in Madison at the Fieldhouse. Get your tickets now before they sell out. And they got a big game coming up against Michigan too, also at the Fieldhouse. So yeah, they got a pretty tough stretch going down. But talk about a sports team that's just bringing them back, bring the Fieldhouse back. And I believe they also have the upper deck completely redone. Well, at least it's part of it. Yeah, it's open now. So hopefully they bring women's basketball back in the Fieldhouse, so that it looks like they actually have a crowd. But yeah, another thing we want to mention real quick. Let's talk about men's basketball since the red and white scrimmage was today.
Oh God.
Unranked in the coaches poll.
Yep.
But they are probably going to easily finish top 15 in the country.
Probably. I think we were literally, as I got here, me and Eric were talking about it. I think our core 6 is some of the best in the Big Ten for player wise. Mm-hmm. But the depth is where it's going to be an issue.
I think we'll be okay. I think with Davison coming off the bench,
yep.
And Reavers having some experience, I think they will be in a great position to make a run at the Big Ten title. And I think they will be in a great position to run for the Sweet 16. And I believe they probably have one of the better coaching staffs in the country, led, of course, by none other than Wisconsin basketball legend Joe Krabenhoft, being best assistant coach on the bench. Find me a better one. Oh my God! But yeah, I think Ford is going to be a great guy coming off the bench. He got some minutes last year towards the end of the stretch. And you were mentioning this before about Charlie Thomas. You want to go off on that?
Okay, this man needs to not shoot the ball in it ever. The rest of his life, he just needs to not shoot the ball at the basket. If he just focuses on playing lockdown defense and getting boards, and he can start some instant offense. If we run fast break like I know we can do, because we have a lot of small, fast guys who can shoot open mid shots, open 3 shots. He can be a key piece coming off the bench if he can just get locked down and get some boards. But he just needs to not shoot the ball. Like I said, he's just a shittier version of Vito Brown.
I think Pertl will probably have a big breakout year this year. He came back towards the end of the season, started to show some good plays down the stretch. We got Trice coming back. King will be healthy again. And then obviously you'll have Khalil and the big man, the myth, the legend, Ethan Happ. So yeah, I think they're probably going to have one of the best basketball teams since the Kaminsky, Decker, Nigel run in 14-15. Honestly.
Yeah, I think last year, being that down year that we had, was great for us because it allowed us to, because we only lost one guy. Mm-hmm. So it allowed us to get a whole experience a whole season of game experience and also practice experience that allows us to build on this year's practices and games. And I think it was probably for the better that we had a down year last year coming into this year.
Yeah. I don't know. I think if Khalil can find that mid-range jumper too, he could be a big threat instead of just being a big athletic guy out there on the court. Mm-hmm. Honestly, if he can get that mid-range down, he can be better than Nigel Hayes was.
Oh yeah.
So,
yeah.
I'd like to see him. Any comments on the college basketball over there?
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting year for sure. I think definitely be interesting to see what King can do a little bit more now that he's back. I think he was kind of a piece that we were definitely missing last year. That kind of was just another just overall great athlete. Kind of stretch the floor a little bit more. I don't know if he's more of a. I can't remember. It's been so long since I've seen him play. If he's got a decent shot or not, but any other addition that we can get that can shoot the ball with consistency, is definitely gonna help.
I think one thing too that's gonna be nice right away is that they're playing Xavier right out the gate. Oh, yeah. Like their game of the season is already against Xavier, and it's in Cincinnati, so that'll definitely tell how this team is gonna respond to playing against a great squad. I mean, obviously the ACC challenge this year is kind of we're going to blow NC State out of the water by 20 points, if not more. So it's at home. It's in the Kohl Center. NC State's been mediocre the past few years. I thought they were going to have a big run in the tournament, but they ended up not. Because they last year they spoiled a couple games for North Carolina and I think someone else. But yeah, but we also got Marquette in the Forum this year.
Yes. Game's
already sold out. So... got to pick up your secondhand tickets if you want to go to that one. But yeah, that'll be a pretty exciting game to watch this year. And obviously Purdue's gonna have a good squad this year. I think they are returning 3 or 4 starters.
Well, they lost them all.
Yeah. No, that was Michigan.
What did I say? I meant
I know what you're talking about, though.
Yeah, holy.
It'll come to me.
He has the hair, and he shoots the 3, and he gets the board.
I got this. Hold on.
God, why can't I?
So they lost Haas and Edwards.
Haas, Jesus, yep.
And then obviously Mathias and Thompson. But yeah, I mean they still got Carson Edwards. They still got Ryan Klein, and they still got Matt Harms. So they got the little Harms boy. But yeah, if Matt Harms can not touch his hair, they might actually be a competitive team. So yeah, and obviously State is going to have a good team. Michigan State also has a good basketball team. Let's be real. I think that's all I had for college basketball. So
going back to the Badgers, I think it's gonna be a big year for Ethan Happ because this will be his last year before he inevitably declares for the draft. So this year is gonna hinge a lot on where he gets drafted when he does declare for that. So I think he needs to show up. He's gonna have a big year because of it. It's my prediction.
Yeah, I mean, he needs to show up if he wants a draft position.
Exactly. So I think he's gonna use that to be the best he can be this year.
And I didn't watch the runway scrimmage live, but I mean, from what I've seen, it maybe looks like he put on a couple pounds. Not very much.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, a little bit.
That's what we were talking about last year. Is he need to put on like 5 pounds. So, but I'm gonna save my men's soccer rant for later.
Oh my God, this has been.
It's coming. It's gonna be a big one.
Yes.
But one thing we're gonna talk about this earlier, but unfortunately we weren't able to. So now we're gonna talk about it now about how the NBA and their shitty teams and their locations don't make sense at all. Name one lake in Los Angeles. Name any jazz band from Utah. Like
it's because of the owners.
So stupid. And like the Pelicans in New Orleans does not make sense at all. Like Milwaukee Bucks makes sense. Philadelphia 76ers makes sense. Celtics makes sense.
Well, yeah, because they're all established teams that have been there since the 60s. So, like, all these new expansion teams that come up, their owners move the team or whatever.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know. Like, they should probably change the name, in my opinion, because it's just stupid. But what do I know?
I mean, welcome to owning an NBA team. Michael Jordan can wake up tomorrow and be like, you know what? We're the Charlotte Anteaters now. Who cares? And then bam, they're the Charlotte Anteaters now. Like Michael Jordan can just do that. That's what owning an NBA team is.
But yeah, this is. It's just, I don't know. It's just like I'm so used to team names. Like I mean, think about the Green Bay Packers. It makes sense because of the Acme meat packing company, and then Chicago Bears makes sense. Vikings make sense. The Detroit Lions, I'm not entirely sure where that one came from. But who cares? But like obviously the T-Wolves, the Minnesota Wild, the Chicago Blackhawks, the Detroit Red Wings all make sense. Like the St. Louis Blues make sense. And what was the one team that I was throwing? Oh yeah, the Anaheim Ducks because Disney's there makes sense. But yeah, no, there's just so many teams that I don't get why they have the names. They need to change them, and it just frustrates me to no end because it should be the New Orleans Jazz and not the fucking Utah Jazz. God damn it. But let's move on. So it's time for our favorite part of the show, the shout-outs. I love this part. Any shout-outs for you, Connor?
Oh, yeah. I want to shout out all of the PP boys. And if you don't know what that is, and if that sounds really weird and gross, that is our 2K team.
Pro-Am, yeah.
That is our Pro-Am team in 2K. Tyler, the newest edition, coming in at the 2 spot. But otherwise, we got me. I'm at the 1. We got Tyler at the 2. We got our good friend Chuck Hind, who I've shouted out before. He's bringing up the 3. Eric Vale, a double-time guest on the show, comes with the 4. And then Jake Hind, the younger, maybe better kind. No, Sam's the best. But yeah, shout out to the PB boys. We've been grinding hard the last whatever weeks since 2K's come out. And a lot of yelling.
Getting those badges.
A lot of missed threes, but it's been fun.
Don't forget Brad.
Oh yeah, and Brad.
Any shout-outs for you, Cory?
Yeah, probably, farewell. Shout out to the, 2018 Brewers there. I definitely like what, Craig was referring to in, the last late game pressers. It really, people that, weren't Brewer fans for most of the year, everybody was having a common thing to get together with for a good 4 or 5 nights out of the week, whether you're with family or friends and stuff like that. It's definitely a big deal for the state of Wisconsin to have a relevant ball club. Bucks looking good the way they are, and Packers staying with it as well. Wisconsin becoming a formidable triple threat. Shout out to the Brewers for an awesome season. Definitely got a lot to look forward to next year. It's gonna be a blast.
We'll just do 2 shout outs this year. I got my first one going out to the man, the myth, the legend, the diaper kid himself, Eric Chilson. I miss that guy so much. Get a student ticket, come sit in the student section again, wear the diaper, bring it out, we want you back. We love you.
What the fuck?
And another super fan, whose actual nickname is Superfan. His first name is Dan. Been going to Badger games for ever. I think he might still work with the athletic office, and that's how he's still able to get tickets. I'm not entirely sure. Don't quote me on that. Don't know his last name, but just know his first name is Dan. Super fan. He's been to Badger games for forever. Would always go sit front row for men's hockey. Would be at the volleyball games, giving out Twizzlers to everyone that showed up. Good man. Good Wisconsin sports legend. Appreciate him. Love to see more of you. And I think I'll give one more out. Okay, Josh Reese, we love you.
Wow.
There's no more that needs to be said. Come on the show.
He might be the most shouted out person.
No, I think Lou still beat him.
Oh,
maybe Lou still got him beat.
Lou's been on the show though.
So Josh, it's your turn to come on the show. You gotta wait in line though. Brian's next.
Oh shit.
But we'll have you on this show again soon. So that's it for now. Take care. Go Badgers.
Bucks and 6.
Bucks and 6, and fire Mike McCarthy.
And Wisconsin starts from the goal line. Crookshank. Oh my goodness. Woo! Now that is a special teams hit of Monty Jones.
You didn't invite me?
For the barbecue?
Oh my goodness. Oh. Amani Jones, a junior from Chicago, 238 pounds. My goodness, what a play. And this place is rocking.
So Yalisha Seen has turned into the ace, but that's your real ace. Mr. Baseball, Bob Uecker. I think one of the coolest moments of the season was when he called an inning or two yesterday with BA and Rock. But he really is part of this team. He is Brewers baseball to a T, Augie.